Hello and welcome to today's Bitrix24 webinar, Perfect Project Management. Thank you for joining today. Okay, so we'll just go through some introductions. My name's Sam Connor. I'm part of the sales team here at Bitrix24 Gold Partners Interface. We're based in the UK, the US and Hong Kong, and we offer a full range of services to help you with Bitrix24, starting off with pre-sale support, so we can review your requirements in detail and answer any questions you have. If you then decide Bitrix is the right solution, we can implement your specific requirements into the system, and we can provide hosting and ongoing dedicated support to really help you get the most out of Bitrix24. Okay, so if you're new to Bitrix24, what is Bitrix24? It's a really important question if you are evaluating the system. So Bitrix24 is a collaboration tool. Well in excess now of 35 different tools that you can use to manage your business. There's over 10 million customers around the world, and the system's available in two different editions. So we've got the Bitrix Cloud and the Bitrix self-hosted system. And prices start from $49 per month for a cloud-based system and $2,990 for an on-premise edition. Okay, so today's webinar is Perfect Project Management. So we're going to be focusing on the project management tools of Bitrix24. So first of all, it's really important to understand why you should use Bitrix for your projects. So we can set up project work groups so you can store information in centralized areas for every single project you're working on. And then we can manage all of the tasks for each individual project within its own structure, so everything can be easily found. We can automate projects, so when a deal is closed, for example, in your CRM system, we could automate the creation of a project. So you can automate processes to save on manual work and also errors as well. So that can save you time moving forward. And then there's analysis of the project. So we can look at the Gantt chart displays and reporting tools. And a really nice feature is the external user tool. So you can invite in external clients who are not part of your Bitrix system. So you can collaborate with them on your projects. Okay, so first of all, today let's look at how we can create a project group. So we're now in our Bitrix24 system. So what we can do inside here is we can review the information about our project. So we go into our workgroup section here on the left hand side. We can then see all the projects that or work groups we are associated with. But let's say we want to create a new project. We can go into the create button here. And then we can decide what type of group we would like to set up. So this is an important aspect to understand if you want to set up a project or a work group. So a project would have a start date and an end date. So any tasks you're working on have to be completed or have a close date within the end date of the project. Whereas a work group, you don't need to have those predefined start and end dates. So you could have tasks which run as and when required. So very often you have work groups for a department, for example, so that you don't have a fixed end date on a department. It would continue, whereas a project, we can have that start and end period. So inside here, we can add a project name. Okay. And we could also add a description. And then we could add a theme as well. So this is the background that we're going to display. And then an icon as well. So we can add some key parameters into here. We can then select the project start and end date. So these are the time parameters that we've just mentioned. And then we can select what features we would like to display inside the project. So this is a really nice feature that you're able to turn on and turn off specific features and functionality. So I may just want to have tasks in some area to store documents, for example. So I can turn off these other features. But I can then always come back into this and turn on those features as well. We can then set privacy levels to regulate who can join and view information in the project. So public is where anyone in your Bitrix system can join and view the information. The private feature is access by invitation only, but it is still viewable in the projects area for someone to ask to be invited. Or we can have secret, so this is where nobody can view that in the system. It is by invitation only from the project manager. And then inside here we can add the members. So you have different layers of ownership. So we have the project owner. You can add moderators as a middle layer of management. And then we can add all other employees who are going to be working on the project. And once that's done, we've now created the project. So now we can see all of the team members associated to the project. We can now start managing all of our tasks that we want to work on inside the system. And that is all managed in a centralized area for the team to work on. And we mentioned how we created another area for drives, so to store documents. So we can see the information inside here now to store that information. Okay, so that's now going to be inside our system, but let's look at another work group and a project to see a fully working project inside the system. Okay, so here we are in the BizTech project area. So here we can see all of the tasks that are currently being worked on in this particular project. So you can view tasks in lots of different ways. So here in the list view, we can see all of those tasks in the system, and I can click into any of those tasks and it will open up the task page where we can review the information about the task, and we can also communicate with our colleagues on each individual task. Another useful feature, if we go back into the task, is you can record time. So that can now log the amount of time that is being spent on that particular task inside the system. And we can see that across all of the tasks we're working on. But now let's go into the Kanban view. This is really nice. So for each project, you can set up your own customized Kanban display to progress your tasks across the project. So as I move into, let's say the defect task, I'm going to move into testing. So we can review in our project meetings where we're at for every single task in the system. And there's lots of different views, such as the deadline view based on the deadline of your tasks. There's also a planner view, and this is your own personalized project management view of the tasks you are working on. So you can customize these stages. And that does not affect anyone else's planner view. So it's your own personalized view of your tasks. There's also a calendar display, and a very popular view is the Gantt chart view. So this can give you that high level overview of all of your tasks inside the system, like so. And then we can create and use filters. So in any of the views we're looking at here, we can use the filtering tool. So we might want to look at all of those based on who's responsible for those particular tasks. So you can drill down into any of that task activity seamlessly. But that's just looking at tasks inside projects. There's many other different tools as well that you're able to use in the system. So here we've got the feed section. So this is like a very modern intranet board. So any communications, any announcements or posts are fed into the feed section for the rest of the project team to see and to view. So for example, from here, what I may do is send a message to all of the project team. Okay, so I can add this message, and within the messaging section, I could add a document, for example, or I might want to mention a specific colleague. And once I've added the message, I can then decide who I want to send this to. So it could be one individual member of the project, for example, or it could be everybody in the project. So you can control the audience. And then once it's been posted, other users can like and add their own comments. So you can see how the feed section can be used as a really good channel for focusing all of your communications on the project. You don't need to be on email, on SMS or WhatsApp. Everything can be managed in a centralized area. And from the feed section as well, you can also create new tasks in the system. We can create polls. So this is quite a nice interactive feature. If you want to say, for example, ask people to select from different options of a question. So polls are really nice as an interactive feature. And we can also attach documents into the system as well. So the feed section is really good for keeping up to date with the rest of your project team. And this is ideal if you're working on projects with people maybe in lots of different geographical locations or areas. Having an online tool to be able to focus on the project, it really is essential. We've also got the drive area. So as we saw earlier on, we created a drive module. So inside here, what we can do is we can store documents that are associated to this particular project. And what we can do is we can set permissions. So even within the project itself, we may only want, say, the owner and moderators to be able to access specific documents. So you can control what information is accessible within the project itself. So you can go to a very granular permission structure here. Then we've also got a calendar. So this could be the project events or meetings, for example. We could store all of that information inside the calendar display here. And we've also got a chat system. So this is really useful if you want to be able to communicate instantly. You have an instant chat feature, and you can also do video calls and voice calls as well, and connect with Zoom meetings. So you're able to have instant communications, and this includes external users as well. As we can see here, Tara Green is an external user, but they're, as an extranet user, still able to access the actual information inside the project, and you can communicate with them. Okay, so that's a look there at our project groups. Let's just see if we have any questions. Okay, is there a limit to the number of external users I can have on a project? So no, there is not. So it's a really good feature of Bitrix24. You can have as many external users on the system as you require, essentially. There's no cost implications for this. So you could have as many external users in different projects to collaborate with as you require. Okay, and a follow-up question from that, is it possible to brand the login page where the external user comes into? So you can't brand up a cloud system, okay? So the Bitrix24 cloud system, if you're going to invite your external users where they log in, it would be Bitrix24 branded. But if you're going to use a self-hosted edition, and we have a lot of clients who do this, we can then customize the actual branding of the system. So you're able to have a corporate branded login page where users log into your portals to access those projects. Okay, so moving on now, we've mentioned earlier on one of the benefits of using Bitrix24 for managing your projects is for the automation tools. So what's really useful within our Bitrix24 system is the ability to create workflows. And workflows allow you to design processes that can be automated. So for example, let's say if we had closed a new sales opportunity with a client, what we could then do is we could automatically create a new project group, bring specific people into that project with specific tasks that need to be completed, and that can be triggered as soon as the deal is marked as won. So you can start to streamline your processes and reduce any human error or interference, and also just speed up the process entirely. So let's go into, I'm going to show you this manually so you can get a better idea of how this will work. But from here, what we can do is select the new project workflow. And now this has opened up a form that we need to complete. So this can be completely customized. So here we're adding information onto this form so we can automatically create a new project inside this system. So let's call this okay. I'm going to input some more additional information. So we need to add a manager and a designer, who is the role here, and then a deadline for when this project will be completed. And then we can add a description. And again, this form is customizable, so you may not want specific pieces of information on here. You can control what information is displayed. Okay, and then we could also add a document into here. But what's really important here is now we're going to choose what type of project this is. And based on the type of project, this is going to then automate what types of tasks are going to be added into the project. So it's a condition, essentially. So I'm going to submit this information. Okay, and then from here, we're going to be asked to, as the manager, to confirm the estimated completion date. And I'm going to approve this. Okay, so we can see the notifications come through. So if we go back into our workgroup section, August webinar 2022 has been created. And now it's going to bring in those tasks that we have automatically had created from the process. So we can see now the scoping task is inside this workgroup. So there's no manual creation of this. It's been automatically created, and it's brought through the details of who's responsible and the deadlines for those tasks. So you can see how we can start to automate the creation of those workflows. And that could be triggered, as I say, from anywhere within the CRM system. So when a deal, for example, is won, if we just go into our deals section, what we could say, for example, if we go into our automation rules, is when the deal is won, for example, we could automatically create a project within here. So inside here, we could edit the workflow designer. And then inside here, we could run that business process. So once the deal is marked as won, we could trigger the creation of a project inside the system. And that could then streamline your whole onboarding process for your customers. And now let's just go into the back end of the workflow tool. Because here we can see the workflow designer inside the system. So if we go into the process that we were looking at earlier on, we had to input information about the project. And then we automatically now created the project group. We were notified that the project had been set up. And then we had to select the type of project that we wanted to create. So it was either project A or project B. And we selected project A, which is why it created the scoping task. This is a task here inside the work group. But if we had selected project B, then this would have created different tasks inside that working group. So you can see how having that condition can completely customize the workflow that we are working on. So you can really create very advanced workflows using this workflow designer tool. It simply uses drag and drop technology to add different module aspects into the workflow. So I could add another condition into there, for example. So these modules can all be added into here for you to build really robust workflows inside the system. And then another area within automation is the ability to run automations on your tasks. So inside your display of your tasks in the system, what we can also do is we could run automation rules here. So if we go back into, say, a BizTech project, what we're able to do is, based on the stage that the task is at, you could then automatically have automated processes running inside the system. And we have triggers and we have automations. So first of all, a trigger can automatically update the stage that the task is at. So for example, if the task has a deadline and if that task is not completed by that deadline, it becomes overdue. And we've set up a trigger here where when that task becomes overdue, we're going to automatically update the stage of that task to urgent. And once that has been added in the urgent stage, we then have an automation rule set up here. So that's now going to automatically change who is responsible for that task. So it's going to change to a more senior manager, for example. So you can see how using triggers and automations, just in that one example, could really help you to keep on track of all of the tasks that are being worked on at any given time, because you could have thousands of tasks that are being worked on. So having automations in place here to help you as much as possible is critical to having really robust task management processes in place. Okay, so that's a look at automations. Let's just see if we have any other questions to answer here. Okay, so is it possible to set up task templates? So yes, it is. So this is a really good way of actually saving time inside the system. So once you have, first of all, when you create a task inside the system, it will open up the task page. Okay, so we can add details about the task. And we could add different information. So we've got a description area. We can add different checklist items that need to be completed. And we can choose who's responsible for those items. And then we can add our time credentials, such as the deadline. You may want to add start dates and end dates as well. So we can add all of the time critical information. And once we've added this information, what we could then do is you can see the task templates here. So we could save this particular task as a template inside the system. So rather than having to recreate this every single time, that can be saved in the system with all of this information. And so if we just close this now, I could then select that as a template and it will automatically bring up that information that we've already added, as you can see here. So that can save you so much time and effort, essentially, which you could then use to manage other areas of your projects. Okay, if there are any other questions, please do add them into the question box. We can run through those during the rest of the intervals of today's webinar. Okay, so we mentioned this quite heavily already, but it's a really important area we do need to cover in detail. So a really powerful area of Bitrix24 is the ability to add external users to your projects. And the way we do this is by using the extranet feature. So if we just go now back into our system here, and what we can do, if I was to create a new project, we can see the settings here that we need to use to add an external project. And this will then allow you to add any people who are not part of your Bitrix system. You can invite them into this particular project. So we can see here the allow external users feature. So we would tick that on the project. And what we can do if we go back into a project we're currently working on, then what we're able to do is we can invite them into this project. Okay, so we can see the current users of the system. I can click invite. And then from here, we could send out an invitation to specific people using their email address. And you don't need to be concerned about what they're able to see. So obviously within the project itself, what we can do is we can set access rights. So for example, based on them being an external user, for example, you may not want them to create tasks. So what we could say is only the project owner could create tasks in this project, for example. But if you wanted external users and visitors to be able to create tasks, we could configure the settings here in that particular project. So they can only be invited into the specific project you've invited them into, but you could invite multiple external users into here, and we can then assign permissions as to what they're able to view and access in the system. And you can, of course, invite them into multiple projects inside the system. So it's a really powerful area of Bitrix24. And we can see here, based on the orange titles, these represent the external projects where people are working with us inside our projects. So for example, if we go into our external chat system here, Tara Green is an external user and they're able to collaborate with us on this particular project. And I could even send a specific message to Tara herself. So you can have focused communications with your external users, even though they're not part of Bitrix24. Okay, so let's look at the extranet. Just to move on now to discuss some of the benefits of the self-hosted system. We mentioned a few already around the external user feature. So if you were to invite your external users into a particular project, what we could do is we could invite them into a branded portal where they log in before they access the project. So you can have your own almost corporate external platform where your clients would be invited into. We could also create advanced automations, so using the source code and also external triggers from external platforms, we could use to create advanced automations. And with the self-hosted system, we're able to create page customizations. So here, when we're looking at an external self-hosted system, what we're able to do is we're able to use the edit mode now to actually start editing pages inside the platform. So this is a really powerful area which you don't have access to in the cloud system. So inside any of our tasks or projects, I could start editing the code on this particular project and start to personalize this. So it's also possible, for example, to create personalized dashboards of the task information inside the system. We have our own project dashboards where we can analyze the information on all of our projects based on the tasks, so we can see how many our tasks are on track within each project. But if you wanted to create your own personalized dashboard, that would be possible with a self-hosted system, as you have access to the source code. So it's important to understand the differences, and we can go through those in more detail with you as and when required. So please do contact sales@interface.com, and we can set up a meeting with you if you would like to discuss the self-hosted system in more details. Okay, so that is the overview of the Perfect Project Management webinar today. So we've seen how we can create project groups inside the Bitrix24 system, and then how we can manage all of the data from tasks to documents to project communications within a centralized project platform. And that's really critical to be able to manage all of your projects inside the system as effectively as possible. We've also seen how we can automate project creation from using the Business Process Designer tool to actually streamline the creation of your projects, which can save time and human error. And then we've also seen how we can use the external user feature to invite external users into our projects so we can collaborate with people on our projects, and that can then save you time on having to focus your external communications outside of Bitrix24. Okay, so here you can see a selection of our up and coming webinars. We're here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time every Tuesday, so please do join us for those sessions. If you do have any questions in the meantime before next week's webinar, please do contact us at sales@interface.com. One of our team will be happy to set up a call with you to discuss your requirements in more detail. Okay, so thanks very much for your time today. Look forward to speaking to you on the next webinar. Bye for now.